Greetings, Leafs Nation. You're tuned into Boys in Blue News, the beating heart of the Blue Army, where every rumor, every behind-the-scenes move, and every exchange glance inside Scotiabank Arena comes to life with depth and detail. Today, we dive into a story that for some feels like an uncomfortable deja vu. For others, a sign of a looming shakeup. A story that begins with ink still fresh on the contract of one of our Big Maple's young talents. And before it's even fully dry, it's already surrounded by trade speculation. Before we get into today's hot story, and trust me, it's boiling, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because here you won't miss a single twist, deal, or drama involving our Big Maple. Today, we explore a narrative that begins with fresh ink on a young player's deal and is already shadowed by speculation that could change the future of the blue and white. Yes, we're talking about Nick Robertson. The current state of the Toronto Maple Leafs is that of a talented team living under the constant weight of massive expectations. The off-season has brought calculated negotiations, precise adjustments, and that lingering sense that something big may still be on the horizon. In this complex chessboard, every piece moved, or even considered, sends ripples across Leafs Nation. At just 23 years old, Robertson recently signed a new $1.825 million contract, avoiding an exhausting arbitration hearing that could have created unnecessary noise. The deal was seen as a mature step for both sides, a gesture to maintain internal harmony, despite still playing at a high focus on the ice. Represents a short term. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere isn't as stable as it appears. It's in this context that the rumors began. Respected insiders like Chris Johnston and Elliotte Friedman have noted that Robertson's name is being circulated in trade talks. Johnston highlighted that Toronto still hesitates to part ways with him because of his age-related upside, something rare and valuable within the roster. But on the August 3rd episode of the 32 Thoughts podcast, Friedman went further. He mentioned that the Pittsburgh Penguins could be a likely landing spot for the young winger, a revelation that stirred both the imagination and the patience of the Leafs faithful. Why Pittsburgh? The answer may be written in historical connections. Robertson was drafted during Kyle Dubas' tenure as Leaf GM, and Dubas now runs the Penguins. Recent history shows Dubas doesn't shy away from bringing in familiar faces. Michael Bunting, Noel Acciari, all found their way to Pittsburgh from Toronto. Adding Robertson to that list wouldn't be surprising. For the Penguins, who are in the midst of retooling, he offers the enticing package of youth speed and still developing offensive potential. For Robertson, it could mean more ice time and the opportunity to prove he can be a top six forward. But why would the Leafs consider moving Robertson so soon after re-signing him? The answer, as often is the case, comes down to the salary cap. Toronto currently is just under $2 million in cap space, not enough to pursue impactful reinforcements, especially up front. Friedman suggested the Leafs need to move one or two contracts. Ideally, Kaye Jarnkrok or David Kampf will be candidates, but the market hasn't shown much interest in them. Robertson, on the other hand, draws attention. Even if the trade brought back only a draft pick and some financial relief, it could open strategic possibilities for management. The logic may be cold, but the emotions of the fan base tell a different story. Many Leafs fans see Robertson as an unfulfilled promise, someone who could still break out in the blue and white. Trading away a young, affordable player for the sake of cap space to make a bigger offensive bet feels, to some, like an unnecessary risk. To others, it's exactly the kind of bold move needed to push the team to the next level. On Pittsburgh's side, the equation is intriguing as well. There are signs that Dubas is open to moving veterans like Brian Rust and Rickard Rakell, which could open the door for a young player like Robertson to step into a significant role. If that happens, it could be one of those perfect matches between need and opportunity. Pittsburgh, with less pressure than Toronto and a system built to develop talent, might be the ideal stage for Robertson to finally find consistency. What's most curious is that, so far, there's no indication a trade is imminent. Friedman made it clear that what we have here are rumors, backroom conversations, signals, and speculation. But in the hockey world, these sparks can quickly turn into flames. All it takes is the right conversation at the right time, or an unexpected need, for a rumor to become reality. And there's a silent shadow looming over this whole story. Jack Roslovic, the forward, currently unsigned, has been linked to the Leafs since the early days of free agency. He tied his career high with 22 goals last season. Friedman noted that some teams are still monitoring the situation, and Toronto could be among them. But with limited cap space, only a bold move, like moving Robertson, could clear the way for his arrival. Roslovic hasn't signed anywhere yet, and that may say a lot about the market. Either the offers aren't at the level he wants, or he's waiting for the right opportunity. And if that opportunity involves Scotiabank Arena, the Leafs will have to act quickly and strategically. This brings us back to the starting point. Robertson's potential departure isn't just an isolated rumor, but possibly a key piece in a much larger puzzle. In the end, this story is about the eternal balance the Toronto Maple Leafs try to maintain, keeping young talent or trading them for immediate results. It's the tension between present and future, between promise and necessity. One way or another, the ink on Nick Robertson's new contract may be dry, but the story he's about to write, whether in Toronto or Pittsburgh, is far from reaching its final chapter. And so, Leafs Army, we close another deep dive into the backstage of the Big Maple. If you felt the butterflies with every detail of this potential move, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments whether you think the Leafs should keep Robertson or use him as trade capital for the next big step toward glory. Because here at Boys in Blue News, the story never stops being written.
Perfect.